Which weapons are the very best in Infinite Galaxy? And when is a green better than a blue, better than a purple, better than a legendary? Is a low-level legendary better than an epic? How do we figure this out? Well, in this video, I made one of each and took them to level 10 and wrote down all the data so that we could start to get a sense of where a lower tier weapon beats a higher tier one. So if you want to save materials and get the most stats per material that you spend, you're in the right video. Stick around. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this video, sponsored by the makers of Infinite Galaxy, we're going to go over how you deploy these materials in the most efficient way possible to get as many stats as you possibly can on your weaponry. And you can see I've got a bunch of that off to the side over here. For the purpose of this video, I made a one weapon of each quality tier, and I took it all the way up to 10, which, man, it's not going to be cheap to break those down and actually allocate them the way that I want later. But I went and I did that to gather a ton of data to try to figure out when is a green better than a blue? When is an epic better than a blue? When is a legendary going to be better than an epic? So that you can figure out which level you should be using when. And the measure for all of this, by the way, is efficiency. Now, look, I can't micro-optimize all the details around the cooldown and the attack and the range and all that sort of stuff. No, what I went for here was a focus on the fleet effect. So this video, for the record, is just about the fleet effect. And in many ways, let's be honest, sure, the outfitting does damage. It's a weapon. Your ship uses it to do damage. That's what your flagship does. But also, that fleet effect in light blue, that's the premium thing that I think we're trying to optimize here. Because you can see on this level 10 Annihilator Cannon, we're looking at 37.2% laser weapon attack. Hello, baby. So yes, deploying these efficiently is going to give you a lot of boosted stats for your fleet. And that is really important. Now, when I say efficiency, the measure that I'm going to use in this video, and I'm going to flash a bunch of charts up on the screen, but the measure I'm going to use in this video, the thing I wanted to get to, is how many materials does it take to get a percent of stat boost? A percent, 1% of that fleet effect, okay? And the lower that number is, the better, right? The less materials it takes to get 1% of boost, the better. So let me get a bunch of data up on the screen just so that you've got it. You can refer to it later. And if you're going to reference this at some point, if you give me credit, that'd be swell for having done a lot of this digging here. And I did go through and document this for every single weapon type. And someone may have already done this work, and I may have replicated it. If you did, my bad. Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to know what your analysis was of this same information. So here it is on screen. First and foremost, just the number of materials required to do each upgrade for each tier: green, blue, purple, and gold. So how many materials is it to get to that next level? So the way that you would read this chart is, for example, a green to take it from level 1 to level 2 is 6 materials. Now, I didn't go in and have a listing of each of the material types because that could be really complicated. We do know, by the way, for whatever it's worth, that each of these different weapons uses or focuses on a different type of material. And so that is important to keep in mind as you're going and doing this. So I'm listing the total number of materials just for simplicity's sake, but you'll have to manage the balance of your materials as you go and work on your equipment. Now, the next thing I want to put up on the screen is the total damage boost, the fleet effect, per level. I've got it for green, blue, and purple and gold. Don't mind the color coding. Just going to throw that up on the screen so you can see it. Also, for reference, I'm going to give you one other thing you'll look at later, and don't worry, you don't need any of this now, but you might want it later. The total number of materials to get to each level, I'm going to put that up on the screen as well. So the way you read this chart is that to get to a level 10 blue, you need 492 materials. That was the math that I did. I might have been slightly off. Hopefully I'm not, but Let me know in the comments if I mess something up there. Now, the thing you want to see is that chart I was telling you about earlier, which is the total materials per stat point that you gain. So let's put that up on the screen. And this is where, again, I've color-coded things that I think is going to be very helpful. I have color-coded based on efficiency. The lower the number you see here, the more efficient that it is. So the most efficient thing here is a level 1 green, which, sure, it doesn't take materials and it gives you a tiny amount of stats, but it's actually very efficient. It's a lot of stats for the amount of materials that you're spending. Now, obviously, when you have more materials and patterns, you want to deploy them in a very efficient way. So you're going to have to go above and beyond greens, which are a tiny amount of materials. And the thing that I'll point out is as you look across a color, which is sort of going in a rainbow pattern, right? Things that are the same color are roughly as efficient. So for example, a level 10 blue is about as efficient as a level 9 purple, which is about as efficient as a level 8 gold tier or legendary tier. Now I mention this because if you have a level 10 blue and you have a purple that's kind of not leveled up, then leveling up that purple is actually very efficient. Taking a purple to level 8 or to even level 7 is going to be more efficient than having a level 10 blue. So that's really important to keep in mind. The lower that number is, the more efficient it is. So what does this mean in a practical sense? Max level blues, epics, and legends, they have similar efficiency at the top end, but the lower the quality tier, the more efficient it generally is at the same level. But, I mean, it's got way less stats. So the thing that you're trying to do is make efficient upgrades with your materials as you go. So the way to do that is that if you've got a bunch of epics, you want to sort of level up all your epics at the same time. You're better off having not like one level 10 epic and a level 5 epic, but like a bunch of level 7 epics, if that makes sense, right? You want to level things up evenly. This is most relevant for things that you are low on blueprints for, such as legendaries. You would want to have actually a lot of those that are lower level, and that is more efficient. And for as long as you are struggling for materials, then that efficiency is really, really important. I think in an absolute sense, if you spread your legendaries kind of really thin, you're going to run into a problem where you have materials, but you're out of blueprints and you can't do upgrades anymore. So the thing you're trying to actually optimize here is for whatever you're lowest on. If the thing you're lowest on is blueprints, then you want to level up the things you have a lot. If the thing you're low on is materials, then the most efficient thing you could do is have lots of lower level things, which is kind of weird. But since we're in the earlier part of the game and a lot of us are probably capping on both blueprints and also on materials, I mean, I think the thing that I will be thinking about is when you're sort of deciding, do I make a level 10 epic or a level 5 legendary, for example? I think that you can refer back to that chart and get a look. So for example, the level 10 epic has a efficiency of 50.3 materials per stat point. Whereas the level 5 legend is going to be 33.8, almost 34 materials. That's way better. That's way more efficient, okay? In an absolute sense, that level 5 gold is going to be 15.7% of stats compared to the 19.6% of stats of an epic. So you're missing out on some stats there. It's more efficient. You can deploy those materials elsewhere, but in an absolute sense, it's actually kind of lower. Okay, so I know that sounds a little complicated, but you can use these charts to figure out, like, what are the things you're low on, what are the things you have more of, and then decide what you want to go and make. So I think the chart you actually want to look at is this one over here, where I dropped the color coding in. It's the fleet effect stats, but I've got the same color coding for efficiency, and that's how you can figure out, Like, where am I more efficient and where am I getting more stats? And, you know, if your max level is different, you can just look across that row to sort of figure out, okay, what for me matters. But if you had a max CC, which, like, gosh bless those of you who've made it to max CC, and you've got, you know, a level 11 epic, and you're deciding at what level is a gold better, right? More stats and more efficient. You're looking at level 7, level 8, level 9 are like more stats, more efficient. If you had a max level 11 blue, and you're looking at what level of purple is going to be more efficient than your blue, then at that point, we're talking about more stats and more efficient at level 7, level 8, level 9, and level 10. And if you were looking, well, I mean, gosh bless. If you are looking at grades in your max CC, that's kind of weird. So use the chart, use the color coding. Hopefully, I've explained this in a way that you can use it wisely. I'll also put up on the screen the corium cost to go and reset these, which, like, it ain't cheap to reset a legendary. 2,200 corium for a level 10 legendary is a little pricey, but I actually thought it might have been more expensive, so that's actually a good thing. And from a blueprint standpoint, it's actually about the same for everything. I'll put that up on the screen as well. The only thing that's different is the starting number of blueprints. The level 1 for an epic, and for whatever reason, for an epic and a blue and a legend, that's the only thing that's really different. After that, it's all the same amount of blueprints to do the upgrade. It's just a different tier, which is kind of weird. So hopefully you found this video helpful and you'll refer back to these charts. I think you'll find them very useful. And if you have any questions about the explanation, which I know wasn't perfect, then leave a comment down below and we'll check those out and reply to them where we can. And we'll do more of this sort of stuff if you're interested in it and found it helpful. This video definitely took longer to make than others, and I'm going to have to spend some corium to reset some stuff. So throw a like on here if you enjoyed it, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.